It is my privilege and joy that we can continue our Bible study about the present truth as we find it also in the book of Deuteronomy. We have today the subtitle, The Stranger in Your Gates. In our last presentation, we have seen to love God with all your heart, with all your might. Why? Because we are dependent on Him. That's the first of the law. And then we love our neighbors as ourselves. That's the stranger included in our gates. We are, without any doubt, at the borders of eternity. And what will make some enter into the good godly land will be the discernment between what is truth and what is lie. If that discernment cannot be made, then people will be lost. That's why we need a scale to know what is the truth. And the law of God is the truth. It says that everything must take in order to give. The lie says, no, you give first, that you may take after that. The lie says just a half of the sentence, making it as by that a lie, if you just say a part of the truth. If you put things that must be in balance, you bring them in an unbalanced way. And if you bring contradiction in truth, there can be no contradiction. We must understand the information correct. And for this, we do not need only to know the law, but we also need to know our human nature and our basic needs. So we have seen that truth has two kinds. The one is that self-explanation, and that requires the cognition, knowledge, and learning. And we call it science. And then we have the other information that needs interpretation. So for this, it requires faith, trust, and standards, measurements, in order that what you believe might be correct. Now, in that what you just learn, lie cannot appear because it's self-evident. Lie can only appear or occur in a place where you have to believe things. Only there lie can occur. That's why a lie is not just an incorrect information or a fiction, but a lie is also an incorrect interpretation of the truth. So we have seen that if we read the Bible and put an incorrect interpretation of what we read, it becomes a lie. Not that the Bible becomes a lie, but what I make out of it is a lie. And so I'm living a lie and I'm proclaiming a lie. That's when you take the truth and interpret it the wrong way. It's a lie if you misinterpret a word, a phrase, an image, or a parable. None of us want to be in a lie because God made us to believe just the truth. So how could it appear that we cannot interpret the words correctly? In our last presentation, we saw that we need to interpret what it means to fear God and what it means to love God. And we have seen the definition of a word is not enough, but we need also to know where to put the word. And as we are made to be a channel, and everything was made to be a channel, there is an entrance and an exit. There's an input and an output. And if I take the means that I need and put it in the wrong place, it won't work. You see, if I don't know that I can eat only through my mouth, I might be put my food in my ear. Or I will turn water there so to still my thirst. But will that work? None will do that, because we know exactly where the entrance is for water and the exit. So, the same is on the spiritual level. Where do I have to put to fear and to love God? I can put God only at the entrance, because I need Him. I can give Him nothing. That's why He cannot be here. I cannot love God by giving Him something. I can only love God by taking something from Him, because everything I have is His, not mine. To fear And to love God means to be dependent on Him. So, let's make that clear on the part of to love the stranger, or the neighbor, or the stranger in thy gates. So where do you put that love? Will you put it at the entrance or at the exit? Now, since we are one species, what you need, your neighbor needs as well. So you can never satisfy the neighbor's need, because you cannot be his source, because you have the same need that he has. And only in another species you can find the food or the need you have to satisfy it. So you find in nature and in what God grows, your food and your water. You cannot find it in your sibling. So love is of God. It's God's product. So I only can take it from God because I don't have it. So I don't go to my neighbor to take love from him. I just go to my neighbor to share the love that I took from God. So we just share that what we have. We put it together so that it grows, it gets more. But everyone does it because he took first from God. So we were made to do things together, not to eat each other up. But now, through the lie, we do it the opposite way. We put the humans instead where God is. That's why disease shows whom I love to take. And through our terrible self-deception, we have all our relationships just for to take. Because selfishness only gives to receive. So let's be very clear. We need to know the law and to know ourselves in order to know where to put the words that God has put in His Word. Now, we have put a question at the end of last presentation. And that question is, if the Spirit can only supply Himself from inside, and His need of love is outside of Him in God, and He must take from God His information through faith, and He binds Himself to trust, and does and gives through His will to the people and to the others He share God's love, how can He misinterpret something? So what causes misinterpretation? What causes that what makes the human spirit to not believe the right and as well to not do the right? So what causes misinterpretation? So let's go at the beginning of creation. God created Lucifer, the first angel. He endowed him with many great things. He gave him a clear identity. You are a creation of God. And he was made in the image of God to govern and control himself. And he had to supply his need from the only source, that is God. And he did that by default, so to say. He had faith in God and he trusted God. He lived the unchangeable law and fulfilled it through his will by giving further to other beings and to the environment what God made him for to do. Now, how can, in an environment where God is truth, and God created everything in truth, how can lie appear? Now, simple-minded people will say, everything must come from God. So, the lie must come from God, then God is truth and is lie at the same time. Then God is righteousness and unrighteousness at the same time. Then He is love and selfishness at the same time. Is that possible? Of course not. That's completely impossible. That would be in no way functionable. And we would see that the law would be contradictory. Because righteousness is the contradiction of unrighteousness. And selfishness is the contradiction of love. There would be nothing that flows. There would be nothing in a circuit. There would be just disaster. Actually, it would be nothing. Because it cannot exist. It cannot function. So how then could a lie appear? Since all the environment that God made is truth, a lie could never occur in an outside thing except inside of a spirit. So how Lucifer came to the idea that he might become a god is not explainable, but we can at least understand that God made the spirit to want to go for eternity. I mean, to learn and know more and grow in knowledge and capacities. God made it to be no end for that. And so in that way, we want to go forward and want to reach, higher ground, so to say. But there is a clear border. And that border is that we are beings that were made. We are not God. So, an effect can never become a cause, and a cause cannot become an effect. That's a line that cannot be broken. It's impossible. But Lucifer thought it would be possible. So he started in his spirit with these ideas about himself being a God. God explained him. And he did not even keep things for himself. He went and spoke it to the angels, and 2/3 of the angels actually got somehow infected. It's a very actual word in our days. They got infected of the idea that there might be a higher ground to reach that we have not seen yet. And Lucifer put it all under the guise of liberty, and he exchanged he brought things into discussion, confusing dependency and liberty. So even though God warned him and the other angels, he went further, and with him 1/3 of the angels of heaven. The other 1/3 that firstly got somehow in that thinking stopped and said, well, that's a wrong way. That's a no-go. I cannot pass that. And so reason gained their victory. But Lucifer, when he was convinced that he was wrong, and after him also the other angels, came to the point of no return. That is, when you know exactly that it's impossible what you want, and you still try it, it's irrational, and it's nonsense, and you broke your spirit. So when Lucifer assumed he is God, he had automatically made God a liar. You see, when the truth about yourself you think is truth while it's a lie, then that what God says must be a lie. And so Lucifer was the first who made God a liar. But you can never make God a liar if you're not the one that is higher than God, that knows things better. So this was the confusion that entered in the mind of Lucifer. And Lucifer could only tempt the other angels also to self-deception. He could not tempt them that they should follow him if they would not self-deceive. deceive themselves, becoming also like God, thinking they know the truth better than God knows it. Now Jesus explains to us, and that's a beautiful Bible verse in John 8. And the context is the lie and the truth. And the context is liberty or slavery. And Jesus says at the entrance, at the beginning, if you continue in my word, it's John 8:31, then ye are my disciples indeed, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So what makes someone free? It's the truth. So evidently, self-deception takes one prison. And when we don't deceive ourselves anymore, it makes us free. But all this, now we go through and they say, no, we are free, we are not slaves. And then he says, but you are slaves because you want to kill me. And then they say, no, Abraham is our father. And they say, no, God is our father. So we come to verse 42. Jesus said unto them, if God were your father, you would love me, for I proceeded forth and came forth from God. Neither came I of myself, but he sent me. Why do ye not understand my speech? Even because ye cannot hear my word. Now you see, these were Christians, so to say. These were his people. But they didn't understand him. Why did they not understand him? What was wrong with them? Was the misunderstanding outside of them or in them? Where were they prisoners? Now obviously he tells them, you believe that God is your father, but your actions show that if I am from the Father, he made me and he made you, we are automatically friends and love each other because we come from the Father. But now he tells them very clear where they are coming from. Ye are of your father, the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. So you see, the truth can only be in us, not outside of us. So, when he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of lie. So, who is the origin of the lie? Is it God? No. It is Lucifer, who became the devil. And Lucifer, or the devil today, believes he's God. So he must make God a liar. Because there cannot be two truths that are contradicting itself. So this is the mystery of iniquity. He broke the law, he put away God, and they united together as angels against God. This is the mystery of the error. There would have never been a murder without self-deception, without believing that you might be someone else than you are. So God still keeps Lucifer alive and the fallen angels, like he keeps us alive. Because he wants to show where the lie leads. It always leads to murder others and yourself. So let's come to the man. He also was given an identity. And he also was made to supply his needs only from God. And he did it by default through faith and trust in God, and fulfilled the law from the beginning of his existence and his creation. How could he fall? Well, the only way Satan could tempt him was to tempt him to deceive himself. But this temptation to deceive himself must put God to be a liar. So Adam and Eve took the lie of self-deception that they might be God, making God a liar. When Eve took first of that fruit and came to Adam, it says, Adam, God lied to us. Look, I am now in a higher sphere. I am now, because I ate of this wonderful fruit. This is what people do today with drugs or with other kind of experiences, meditation or whatever. They want to get into trance situation because they want to reach godliness. I mean, they want to reach a higher thing because they believe they can be more than a creature of God. Now, yes, they are born like that, but they believe they have this self-deception in them. So Eve could not tempt Adam to eat the fruit, except she tempted him that he should make God a liar. But in order to make God a liar, you must make yourself God. Because then your truth is the real truth. And what God says is a lie. There is no other way. So Adam and Eve made God a liar. And such, they broke the unchangeable law and they bound themselves to each other and to Satan. This is a mystery. This is a mystery that we cannot fathom. But it happened. And we now are all born in this great self-deception. So there was still a difference to Lucifer and the angels. When Adam and Eve fell, their spirit was not broken completely. There was still space in order to see themselves, to understand who they are. And if God would provide a means to come out, they might be saved and recuperated for eternity. And since there was this chance there, God had made a plan to save humanity. This plan would cost him everything, but he is willing to give everything to save a soul from death, to save a soul for eternity. So the only way to get out of self-deception, the only way of salvation and return to God is to remove the lie from our hearts. And for this God provided a means. That's the cross. But in order that anyone should go to the cross, he must first recognize his heart that the issue that he has is not outside of him, but inside of him. Why did God give all the laws in Deuteronomy? Why did he give these laws? You can read them. Almost every second word says about the law. Why? Well, the only reason is to show humanity that he's a creature. To show him his dependency. To show him that everything he has is dependent on God. That's why God repeats at the border of Canaan the law. Because he wants that when these people go in, they should go in as children of God, not as gods in their hearts. He wants, by the sign of circumcision, that they understand that something in them must be broken away, must be cut away. But how will you cut it if you don't see it? So God in his mercy brought them through many difficulties, to show them one point, to show them that what they believe about themselves, how they were born, is wrong, and to show himself that he is their God. We are also standing at the border of Canaan. For us, it is also the final decision in front of us. And no one will enter that land. No one will pass through this difficulty that we are going through, except we remove the error that is in us, not outside of us. In us is the virus, not outside. In us, in our spirit, is the issue, and not in a physical thing. Jewish people couldn't understand it. Jesus came and showed them, I am the truth, the real man, showing yourself that I am coming from God. He sent me. I came to show you what man is. But they couldn't understand because they could not recognize their own deficiency. And now through disease, God wants to discover that. He wants to open our eyes by it. And we now put the blame on a virus. We put the blame on of an external thing. No. Lie is something that is in us. That's why God can give us thousands of truth books. They will avail nothing. He can send thousands of saviors. They will avail nothing if we don't understand the issue is in us, in our spirit. This must be removed, and it must be replaced with the truth that we am a child of God. Only when I'm a child of God, I am inside the law. Then God doesn't need to give us any laws anymore because we fulfill them. We can never break the law. Living from God, living from His life, living from the truth. We are again an open channel to take His love and give it further to our neighbors. No law is anymore required to give us an attention that we are not what we think we are. Because that's the law shows us. That we are creatures. We are not gods. So, we must pass through the Jordan. The difficulties that we must go through are there to cleanse us from every idea that is wrong about us. So, a man who knows who he is, and I want to reach that perfect goal to be a child of God. The 144,000, they have what written in their foreheads? And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their foreheads. That's Revelation 14:1. Their father's name. There is something that I would also give you a homework till our next presentation to read just 4 chapters, 5, 6, 7, and 8 of Deuteronomy. And if sign those words or pick them out that are speaking about, I am your God and you are my own child. Look how often God repeats that truth. Because it's all about this. Who am I? And who is God? Now the 144,000 who have the identity of God in their foreheads. who know themselves who they are, they will not be able to understand all that they read, because the Bible is an infinite book. In eternity, we might discover things that we were unable to discover on earth, that were too deep for us to understand. So if I'm a child of God and I'm reached the point of perfection, of the truth being in me, being one with Christ, I might not understand all that I read. Things might still be unknown to me. I might not be able to explain all that I encounter. People come and say, but look, these people all got the same disease. They were sleeping in the same room. So there must be contagiousness. Well, I might not explain all things, how the pestilences work, but I know for sure it comes from God. And I might not explain it, but I know it cannot be contagiousness, because the law excludes that possibility. If I'm a child of God and fully perfect, many areas remain unknown for my spirit and for yours. This is why we have eternity in front of us, to learn and explore things unknown to us. But there is one thing, and that matters, that never can occur again. But we will recognize every lie. We will not be any more susceptible to self-deception. It's impossible. Why? Because every lie has its root in thinking of yourself to be a God. So if we never are able to think that again, if in the deepest of our spirit we know who we are, lie is gone. There can come to us as many information as possible. And while we might not explain all things, for sure we can exclude a lie. We won't be susceptible anymore to self-deception, because the root, I'm a God, is on the cross. It's rooted out. It's gone. So by God's grace, we want to reach this point of total freedom, because we want to enter that land in which freedom is everywhere. I'm so glad that God is a God where freedom is. We had this years before the crisis came, a year and a half and some more months ago, we lived in a world, and it was so beautiful, at least from the point in some of the countries, most of them, you could do whatever you wanted, remaining in the law of God. You could travel, you could explore this, do that. The Spirit of God held that. And now that He removes Himself, He takes that break that was upon the other spirits, because He's bigger spirit than us. Now that He removes, out of man come out what is in him. And he's not a freedom lover. He's not a lover of how God is. He wants for himself to just rule over others, to bring others unto his own rulership, and so on. Friends, I got an image of my God, remembering the times where his Spirit was more present, keeping away the evil. And looking to that, I'm looking to heaven and say, well, if the Spirit of God could do this on an earth where all people believe they're gods, how will heaven be for a free place? How will heaven be for a free place? Because there where the truth is in us of who we are, and we know it for sure, then all heaven is the freest place to be. Because God is the one that made freedom. He's the one that likes it. And the one that shares it with all his creatures. So maybe we be encouraged to look beyond these troubles that we have to encounter to that godly land in which we will come home to the heart of our Father and Redeemer and be free forever.